This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. The time being 4:45 p.m., I'd like to call this meeting of November 2nd, 2023 to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Selectman Scanlon will be joining us a little bit later. He's graduating from the academy tonight.
Good for the academy?
Yep.
Police standards and training.
Oh, his new, yes, okay.
Yep.
I forgot they all have
Officer
to go through that.
Scanlon? We need a police officer, don't we?
I guess.
It's a different training
Yes, it's a very
than
different
a
training.
police officer goes through.
Because he's working with correction.
The Corrections, Department of Corrections, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Actually,
we have minutes 9:14. I believe this is the one that we sent back to have corrected. And the corrections are in blue.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of September 14th, 2023, as corrected.
Second for discussion. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Okay, one abstention. The minutes of October 5th. And I believe this is also one that was corrected. No, I take that back. Anyone?
Page 3 at the top.
Mhm.
Oh, I don't know, about 5 sentences down. They've given some estimates for the site work at the 2 locations. The committee met and came up with a recommendation that they want to provide to the selectmen, that the selectmen should build at the Tilton property. Should it be commissioners?
Mm. Yep.
I mean, we're certainly not going to build there. And then the next paragraph down about midway, the conversation switches to the hydrants, but the minutes don't indicate that. It said a brief update. A brief update is that there's a court date set in January and it'll most likely be a 1-day event.
Mhm.
And they have a 2-week time period of when it would happen.
So it should indicate hydrant.
I just something in
Right.
there to indicate what's the court date.
I agree with you on that one.
Other than that, good minutes.
So this one will go back for corrections. Okay, the minutes of October 19th. I'm not too sure that this is what we, I mean, correct me, board, if I'm not on point here. On page 3 of 6, under second paragraph, next item, the third sentence in, the third line in, I should say. The board is considering doing this on a case-by-case basis, but they are concerned about the legality of this. I didn't think we even said we would consider it on a case-by-case basis. I think discussion followed, and
I think,
there were questions about doing it for one, the equality of doing it for one and not others.
yeah, I think in that section is, I had posed the question about, is a case by case basis legal? I think that's what it was on that,
Okay.
in that piece right
Well,
there.
that's very different than what the legality of this is.
Yeah, the board isn't considering doing this on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're right, you did
I
ask the
did ask the
question.
question as to
Is-
whether a case by case basis was
Is
legal.
it a case-by-case basis legal? Okay.
Yeah, and don't, it's, the correction can put my name on it. That's obviously not a problem.
Okay. Then that makes more sense because then it says, Forrester, when did we go from using Selectman Constantino, Selectman Scanlon to last name and last names? Forrester.
Only we know what our positions are when you read this.
I know, but if you look at the next item, workspace for Sue McDonald, and then several options were discussed, including sharing the welfare office with Heather. And then Forrester spoke with Heather. These, in 5 years from now, people aren't going to know who Forrester is or Heather.
That's right.
We need to be consistent with this. And proper. Anyone else? Okay, please go back for corrections. September 14th.
You did September 14th.
What?
That's an extra copy in you.
Oh, okay.
You approved the 14th.
21st.
No, you just had 3 sets, 9/14, 10/5, and 10/19.
Okay,
So you're done.
done. Okay, then we'll move on here. I'll make a motion to accept the gift of light tickets for donations for the Tilton Senior Center. We have $65 from Joe and Sandy Plessner, $65 from Julie Petty family, $65 from Kevin Waldron, $65 from Christopher Can and family, $65 from Jane Alden. Second. No, that's not a gift of light. That's a senior center.
She was specific in her motion.
I made a motion for the gift of light.
Yeah, no, I understand. I thought there was $120 for that.
No, that was in memory of a person. A motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. We have make a motion to accept $120 from Elaine Bennett, Joe and Carol Richard, Brett and Colleen Murray, Cindy and David Demers, Philip and Faye McCall in memory of Sharon Goupel.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That's Gail Twombly's sister. Make a motion that we accept a $1,000 donation from Tilton Mac Cal for the Tilton Senior Center Thanksgiving dinner.
Second.
What is Mac Cal?
Bob McPherson
You developed
used to
Home
own
Depot?
the developing people for
Oh.
Home Depot and all that
Yeah,
area
okay.
up there.
Yeah.
Conservation area on Mansfield Road.
Manville Road, Bob McPherson. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And accept a $20 donation for the Tilton Senior Center from Sean and Lilia Colum.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for the donations. And we've come to the town administrator's report.
No.
Okay. So you all should have gotten a copy of my weekly update. There is a hard copy in your binder as well. Several action items. The first is a quote for the baler for the recycling center. As I mentioned in the last Selectmen's meeting. It came in approximately 5,000 more than the quote we received 3 months ago. Kevin did get another quote, which was slightly higher, and a quote for a used baler. And this is the one that he would like to purchase for the recycling center. I did talk with Tim and about using ARPA funds, and I think, Tim, do you want to speak to the funding for this?
Yeah, so basically, there are three sources that we can pick from that I would suggest the priority be any remainder of the Lowe's grant that's available. Because there's still some expenses coming in for that grant. So once that's settled down, we can use the remainder of that and then also look to end of year money that we have available. And if once the tax rate is set and once we know how much money the board wants to use for reduction of the tax rate, if there isn't enough money, then we can then proceed forward to use whatever remainder needs to be used out of ARPA funds. Either way, it's not going to be a significant impact to any of those last two, either the end of year or the ARPA. So I don't see that as being an issue. It's just trying to figure out, once the dust settles on the current expenses against that grant, how much is left.
Board? Go ahead, Joe.
What is the total that we're looking to spend here? $12,000?
It's $12,120.
And-
Wait a minute. Let me just, no, I'm sorry. The grand total with the shipping is $13,640.
Is that for new or used?
New.
Now, there was some thing about Kevin and a used
Yeah.
baler.
So he looked at a used baler and believed that we would be better off, or the town would be better off, getting a new baler.
Oh, I misunderstood that one because it sounded like he wanted the new one.
Yeah,
Wait, what?
It sounded like you said he wanted to get the used one.
No,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
all right.
okay. We're all on the same page now.
Yep.
And we don't need to do anything until we find out where the money's coming from, right?
No, actually, I would say that's what I'm hoping, that you'll approve it tonight, because the first estimate we got months ago was much less, and that's what we wrote the grant for. And then 3 months later, the prices increased. Kevin says it will take 2 weeks to get the baler, and that is the last piece of the recycling center.
Okay, I'm a yes.
Yes.
You want a motion or just a consensus?
For
Whatever
a
you.
$13,000 one, we need to make a motion.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we,
May I make a suggestion?
go ahead.
That your motion could state that you would exhaust first the remainder of the Lowe's grant, then utilize any monies allocated from end of year that were not used for tax rate setting, and if any money is still required to pay for the baler, that it be used out of ARPA funds.
So moved.
I was going to say, spit that one back out again. I'll second it.
A motion has been made and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Next item is thank you, is administrative assistant and secretary job descriptions, which we discussed at the last meeting, and I was asked to make one change to the administrative assistant job description, which was on page 2, 8th paragraph per the board, which included the words "and residents." So I have the originals, and I've highlighted with the little yellow tag showing where I added the change. These are the originals that need to be signed. If you're ready to sign it.
Board,
Mhm.
let me pass these around.
Next, should
And
I
residents, okay.
continue or do you want to look at it first?
What do you want to do?
It's a small change. Go on. I would say go on.
Make a motion, we approve just keep going, or you want
Yeah,
to?
by signing it, you're accepting the change.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Go
we
ahead.
already,
Let's just sign it then. Okay, good. Pass
Next
it back
item,
after.
next item, Health Trust Renewal Contract for the medical, dental, long-term, short-term disability and life insurance. I have the transmittal document you approved moving forward with the renewal at the last meeting. This is the actual document that needs to be signed. So while you're signing that, we were notified by Health Trust that the IRS is expected to increase the maximum employee salary reduction contribution amount for calendar year 2024 up to $3,200 or to $3,200 up from $3,050. If the IRS does increase the contribution amount, does the board want to adopt the increase? Basically, all this does is allow the employee to deduct that much more, have that much more deducted from their paycheck for the flexible savings account, which they use towards medical expenses. So
And what's the amounts again, Gina?
right now it's $3,050 and the IRS is supposed to approve an increase up to $3,200.
Oh.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first piece. And then the second piece is the carryover limit to the FSAs for plan year 2024 is expected to go up to $640. It is now currently $610. So that basically allows at the end of the year, if they haven't used it, they can
Right.
roll over up to 610. So the question is, do you want to approve that increase as well?
Mm-hmm.
And if you agree, then I will get the paperwork from Health Trust for you to sign.
I'm going to abstain from that vote because we participate, but you folks, you're going to need a 3 vote here.
Yes,
It's
and
a
I would like
benefit
a
to the
motion.
employees, and you need a motion.
You have a question in the audience.
Yeah, go ahead, Nate. No. Right.
Yes, to the employee.
I think it's a huge benefit, particularly people that have families. Using the non-taxable before tax monies.
So would anyone like to make a motion to approve those two, or are you not ready to do that?
I'll make a motion to approve the carryover limit from 610 to 640.
No, different one.
Oh,
Are we doing that? Or we're doing the,
There are two of them.
There's 2 of them, the
Okay.
one above it and
Got
the
it.
one below it.
Okay.
You could start on that one, Joe.
Okay. I move that we adopt the increase.
Ruggles second.
Which one was this for?
This is the
Both?
carryover for
Okay.
FSA.
Carryover.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second for the carryover 2024 from 610 to 640 for the FSA. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
I'll make a motion to approve expected increase of the maximum employee salary reduction contribution for CY 2024 from up from $3,050 to $3,200.
Second.
Motion has been made and second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
I abstain. Okay.
Thank you. Avatar 2024 update of values increased. I sent you this contract. It should be in your review section. Late last week, we got a revision from Avatar, which I then sent to you that I believe on Friday. That is under my section. I sent it to you electronically, but there's a hard copy as well. So Avatar is looking to get that contract signed. She will be here later if you have questions and you feel like you want to ask her.
What's the major revision? I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Well, the biggest change to it was that there was an increase, and it wasn't a lot.
Yeah, it was 1,300, but what was the revision? You said it was a revision in the contract.
I think
Was it just money?
I think it was just language.
Oh,
It was on section 8, 3.8.3.3 on page 10. And that had to do with the company shall maintain certificates of insurance on record with the Department of Revenue.
okay.
So if you are ready to sign it, I have it. If you want to wait and ask for questions.
Does anybody want to hold and ask her questions later?
She's going to be here anyway.
She's coming in later. All right, well, we'll hold.
Okay.
Bless you.
Just to follow up on the Civil War monument fence, I sent you an email from Superior Fence, who did go take a look and said it would be very expensive, but there may be a steel product out there that could be less expensive. Kevin, the director, did go take a look as well and said it was not something he could do. He did not have the tools to repair or replace. So my question to the board is, how would you like to proceed?
It would be nice.
What would be nice?
Steel in the back fence.
Can match the color. People won't even know unless they
Right.
go over and like
Won't know it. In the
really
back.
look.
Wouldn't they, yeah, I can't talk. If my memory serves me well, when we looked at this years ago, they offered a reasonable facsimile. I mean, it didn't have the decorative middle posts, but reasonable facsimile to the most of the fence in cast aluminum, which doesn't rust, or it's not supposed to rust.
Hmm.
So there's much more longevity.
Same people?
Same people. Superior Fence. I don't know if it was, and I think we got an estimate from somebody in Andover. Yeah.
Do you want me to
I
get
would
an
think,
do you want me to get an estimate from them for that? Okay.
I would get one for both steel and aluminum, and then
Right.
ask him what the benefits of either are.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, we're definitely not going to match those decorative posts.
Right, we're not. But we should get estimates on both, and then maybe we could decide from there.
Okay.
Maybe some pictures.
Is that just for clarification, is that for the entire fence or just one section? What?
The back.
The back.
The back
last.
section. You don't want to give up
Yeah.
The
the
last section? Right.
right. You don't want to give up the Main Street or the Winter Street side.
Okay.
Go ahead, Nate.
Wait, they're recording, so you've got to speak into the microphone.
He has studied our fence profusely.
Thank you. So I just wanted to note that on the north end of the fence, the first 16 feet doesn't have to be replaced slash can't be replaced because it is providing support for the northern fence line, and then trees have grown around the bottom of that section of fence. And then on the south corner, there's a 9-foot section of undamaged fence that could be attached to it if you were to put a new fence in. But currently, there's a 45-foot gap in the fencing, so only about half of that side is fenced in at the moment, but most of that is hidden by the large bush in front of that fence line.
You know, the one thing that we haven't talked about is if we're having Superior Fence look at this, maybe they could look at the Winter Street upper side where the fence has been moved off
Off the post.
the post to
Mhm.
see if they can put it
If we're
back
gonna
on.
replace fence, we should fix what we have
Say
while
what?
they're out there.
What is it?
We should definitely have them fix it if it's not attached.
This is attached. It's just been, whether it's been pushed by a snow, whether a car hit it, but it's been moved off its foundation, if you will, stones.
I would like to see it restored.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to order Christmas wreaths for Tilton this year?
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Tilton Island Bridge.
Well, hold on
and-
a minute, because hold that thought for 1 second. I think when John gets here, I think we ought to maybe order some poinsettias from the DOC for the office.
So you want me to hold on this?
No, don't
Oh,
hold on that, but
okay.
in addition to, I think that in the
Okay.
interior, because that's what he does, that's what he grows down there.
Okay.
They're reasonably inexpensive.
Can we make sure everybody in the office knows that they are a poisonous plant? So when the leaves drop, they have to pick them up.
So that they don't chew on them.
Kids, little kids, animals.
We don't have
Can't
animals
have
anymore.
animals in town hall anymore.
Yeah, no more animals.
Just in case, I'm just telling you.
Little kids yes, little kids.
People don't know.
It's true. I don't have them at my house for that reason.
I don't either. But they are pretty.
The last item on my action list was the discussion of Tilton Island Bridge, but since my report out to you, two other issues that are not on the list, I wanted to bring up. They're short, so the Tilton Island Bridge one will be a little longer. The board had asked me to follow up about the legality of giving more buyout on a case-by-case basis. You mentioned this earlier. I did talk to our employment attorney, e-hotline, which is a free service through NHMA. And the board can make exceptions to its policy. The best practice is to state in writing the criteria for making exceptions. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Does it have to be equally across the board, or can be
Case-by-case
case
basis.
by case?
But you just have to follow the criteria.
Okay.
The budget committee secretary had sent me an email asking the budget committee wanted to send out a letter to the various organizations who are not getting funded. And Catherine could probably speak to it better than I can, but they wanted to send out a letter to all those agencies saying that they should feel free to leave their pamphlets and flyers and information at the town or posted at town hall. The copy of that draft letter is in your binder under my report, just so you can see what it says. And so I just wanted to bring that to the board. It's really your decision. They were looking for confirmation that you all were okay with that.
Must have read it quick last night. I didn't remember the pamphlet part. I did state at the budget committee meeting that we do have a lot of the outside agencies, the nonprofits that do leave their pamphlets in town hall, and they have for years. CASA, CAP, et cetera, visiting nurses.
Did you already make decisions on who gets what?
We made a decision on some agencies that we are not going to fund. So rather than have them sit in suspense or, come in for no reason, we are sending them a letter, letting them know, thank you for applying, but we won't be including you in our budget. We made a decision on some agency, like Park Cemetery. We don't need them to come in. Yeah. Old Home Day.
Don't the selectmen have the option of voting that into their budget?
Say again?
Don't the selectmen have the option of going through that and saying, no, we want to fund this?
You can.
Then how do you know they're not getting funded?
The budget committee's budget is the one that's presented to the legislative body. So by letting them know that they're not included in the budget committee's budget, they will know that they can come to town meeting.
So Parks Cemetery is not included in the budget?
No, Park Cemetery, we decided didn't need to come in. We approved Park Cemetery
Oh,
and
okay,
Old Home Day last night.
okay,
They just don't need to take the time to come in,
got it,
saving them time and the budget committee time.
got it. So what about this letter? And this is what this is about?
This is letting them know, thank you for applying, but we won't be including you in our budget this year. And some of the budget committee members just felt it was very important that their pamphlets be here for people in need.
How do we know which ones got funded and which ones didn't?
Well, I know which ones didn't get funded. I just wasn't going to publicly.
Oh,
Well, I was just going to say, ordinarily, you have 3 columns that you look at and that we print in the books. It shows always what a request is, what the selectmen had voted on in the column, and then what the budget committee decided. And as Catherine said, the budget committee's number is what's in the warrant article.
oh, I get that. I'm very
But-
familiar with the budget committee.
But you would still see those that made a request. It just
I've
would
never
show
been
0.
accustomed to a letter going out so soon from the budget committee like this. That's what I'm not accustomed to. That's all. And then have them put pamphlets down in town hall.
Well, like I said, the pamphlets part is not something new. They've been doing that for years and years. The budget committee had rather a slow start because of trying to meet a quorum. We did have one last night. That was nice.
So you made all these decisions last night. Wow.
No, we've been studying the budget on our own, and we came together last night and made the final decision. Some of the agencies were not funding, we didn't fund last year as well.
Well, maybe in your report, you can help us out with the ones that you funded last night in your update, in your report as as ex officio to the budget committee.
I'll let you know in the non-public which ones we didn't fund.
No, I'm not, not
Yeah,
concerned with didn't fund. You can tell me which ones you funded last night,
I did.
which
Old
is
Home
not all.
Day and Park Cemetery.
Okay,
The others, we had 3 that came in last night. We haven't made a decision, and we have more that are coming in next week.
okay, got it.
There's only 3 agencies that'll get this letter.
Okay, doke. All right, moving on.
So the board is good with them sending out the letter.
Board?
I don't like the wording of it.
The question is, are you okay with the pamphlet part?
Yeah,
The budget committee can send the letter, but if you prefer, we could remove the pamphlet, well, offering them to bring in their pamphlets and leave them in town hall. If you wish, we can leave that out.
no, I'm all set with the pamphlets. I don't like the wording of the first part. We've decided not to fund you.
Well, it's a budget committee decision. Remember, they are elected officials.
I just don't like the wording. I know you have the option on the budget committee of doing that
Yep.
very thing. And I'm not even saying I disagree with you. I just don't like that particular wording. We decided not to recommend
Mhm.
your request
To the taxpayers.
to the taxpayers or in this budget.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That says the same thing.
Doesn't say recommend.
What I'm saying,
We will not be
that's
funding.
what I'm saying. I would rather see that kind of language. We
Oh.
do not recommend your budget requests at this time.
Okay.
And I think that's a good enough heads up. And the selectmen will be seeing this and making their recommendations later.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I kind of agree with Joe with saying I've decided not to fund. It's the budget committee doesn't fund the budget. It's the taxpayers that fund the budget. And so you make a recommendation to the taxpayers at the legislative body at the annual meeting. And, it's recommended by the budget committee, recommended by the budget committee, not recommended by the budget committee. And then, so it says the same thing, it just says it a little bit nicer way, because then you're just taking the burden off of the budget committee funding, because you're not funding it. You're recommending that it not be funded.
The town meeting will do the funding
Right.
or not.
Yep.
I can send out an email and offer a change.
That'd be great.
I have just, it's kind of scribbled in here, but not be including your request for funding.
Mm-hmm.
They requested money and we're not going to recommend that. But they've requested it, so it'll be in the budget for town meeting.
Only if the selectmen do.
Yeah, it'll be zero. There's really nothing. It'll be
If the
nothing.
selectmen don't,
Right,
true enough.
right.
Will be included. Including your request for funding.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you, Catherine.
next, that did not show up on your list was the annual open house with cookie contest.
Yeah.
Since you won last
I
year.
liked the cookie contest. I didn't win, but I sure did eat lots of good cookies.
I got my recipes all set, so.
I'm a yes.
Okay, So the question is, do you want, last year you did it on a Friday night, would you want to do it on the 21st, which is your regularly scheduled selectmen's meeting?
December 21st.
Yes, it's a Thursday, which is close enough to think,
We're actually
Christmas.
working on December 21st.
It's a
Oh.
Thursday.
Catherine, do you know about our cookie contest?
No, first I'm hearing about it.
So the selectmen are pinned up against each other in making cookies, and then we have separate judges.
Why?
I was robbed.
Because we get to eat cookies, Catherine. I know you're not a big cookie eater probably, but the rest of us are, so there you go.
The intent was to have an open house for residents to come and meet with the selectmen in a kind of a casual way and have some fun. And we had 3 judges, I think Fred Caruso, somebody from the Laconia Daily Sun, and
It
the
was
third
fun.
judge was the chief.
Yes,
I
the
like
chief.
open
It
house
was the
part.
chief.
Yeah. And so we couldn't tell them whose cookies they were. They taste tested all of the cookies,
And then voted.
and then they voted.
Does everybody make the same cookie?
Oh,
No,
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 no.
No, you make
All
whatever
different
kind
ones.
of cookies you think
absolutely
you
not.
can win this contest with.
So it's not apples to apples.
Nope.
This is
Nope.
apples to grapefruit.
It's
Oh, no.
cookies to cookies.
And presentation.
And
Pat's
presentation.
was impressive. I will.
Correct.
Although I do like Catherine's idea of apples to apples.
Same type of cookie.
Same cookie, although that wouldn't be
new
interesting
twist
for
I
on it.
like
everybody.
I really liked the variety.
Well, you
like
can
the
still
variety.
make variety, but the judging cookies should be the same.
Oh, you're
Well, now you
boring.
want to make 2 kinds of cookies.
You are very boring.
I'm just saying, I did, sounds
That's
fun.
That's the Yankee in you. Let's make it exciting.
Just saying,
So,
I'm fine.
Bring out the best
so we're
here.
going to do it.
Just
All
tell
right.
me the parameters.
All right.
Make a cookie.
All right.
All for one, one for all.
More than one. You
So,
gotta make more
the
than one
last-
cookie. Can't just have a cookie. So.
The last item on my action list was the Tilton Island Bridge and Tilton Island Bridge and Island Project. So this is a big project. We've been working on this for over a year now. So many elements to it. The bridge removal itself and the cost of that, the reinstallation, the repair, the abutments in the pier, which needs an evaluation. Apparently on the Main Street side, the abutment is twisting. I think that, from what I understand, it's erosion or the river causing that. Then you have the island itself with the granite blocks, and we're working on getting estimates for the erosion and reclamation of property on that. And then, of course, you have the upstream slope repair project. And if you saw in my FYI to you, the meeting that I had with Eversource relative to the slope repair and the island and moving the poles. So it's going to be a big project. It's going to be an expensive project. You know that we are waiting to hear from Senator Shaheen's office about the grant I wrote for the $500,000 and starting the process with the Land and Water Conservation Grant. But that Land and Water Conservation Grant, we will not be notified about whether or not we've been told that it's a very good project and very likely we will get it, but they can't promise anything. It has to go through the state first, and then the state sends it up to the federal government. And we won't know until October 2024 whether we got that. So meanwhile, I guess my concern is, the bridge has been closed, the island's been closed, and we're not, it's like the cart before the horse or chicken and egg, or, we have $75,000 that we got from the state that we can use towards this project. Of course, we got some donations, but nothing really significant for the cost of this project. And I am looking for guidance from the board. I almost feel like we need to put together a committee because there's so much. And I've had a couple meetings with engineers about the removal of the bridge, temporary bridge costs. But separate from the grant is all the moving pieces of what comes first. And I think you have to resolve what's happening upstream. And I don't know when the DOT is going to get around to that piece. So if we wait on them, right, it seems like the only thing that we could do is at this point would be remove the bridge and get that started. I think they said there were like 20 members that have to be shipped off pieces for recasting and repair, and then the majority of the bridge, it was suggested in the report, could go to Tri-State for the removal of the old paint and spraying, putting on the new paint. But everything is just sitting there.
So are they suggesting that the entire bridge be removed
Yes.
Mhm,
and then brought somewhere?
mhm. Two pieces, two places.
20 members cross pieces that have eroded and have to be repaired, get shipped off. The majority of the bridge, what they're suggesting is there's a company called Tri-State who can do the work.
I know Tri-State.
Okay, so the rest of the bridge goes there off-site because I'm sure a lot of that paint's probably leaded, right? So that's got to be removed and then repainted. And then those repaired pieces come back, get put together on the bridge, and then the bridge gets put back in place. While the bridge is gone, they have to look at the abutments and the pier to see how stable they are. The granite blocks have to be put back in place, but if we do all that and upstream, they do what they're proposing to do. When we met with HEB, they said it will, and we all know that it only makes sense. It's going to impact the island and the abutments and the pier. So
Let the record show that Selectman Scanlon entered the room. I just want to ask this one question, and don't shoot me for this. If we bonded it, could we pay that back with the grant
yes,
and get things moving quicker
yes.
to do that?
And I had asked him, and I don't know if you had gotten a chance to look at that, if you bonded it, what that is to the.
What would
I
be?
asked my question because I
Okay.
was going to ask the same thing, but the first part is, do we have a total cost for all of the bridge? The repair, removal, replace, abutments?
No.
Okay.
So I have estimates, and estimates from 2 years ago. So I don't know how good those estimates are anymore. You know what happened with the baler, right? So we do have estimates.
Can we either recheck them or get them close to what we need for estimates?
And
yeah.
Yes, we can do that. And you remember the prior board had signed an agreement with Patrick Harshbarger, who was the company that did the assessment on the bridge. And he was going to put together the team, and he that was going to do all this project. And we have not done anything with him yet because I'm not sure. I was uncomfortable starting the clock ticking on paying him until we know where we're going, right?
Mhm.
And he had met with myself and the engineering company that we had been talking with.
Mhm.
So we've got a good start, a base, but it's just such a huge project. And the only thing that seems to make sense, because if we wait on upstream, I think that island is going to be closed for a long, long time.
But if we don't wait for upstream, then upstream comes, they have to keep that intact, they have to.
Right.
It's,
And that's what HEB said when he met with you and
Right.
I, is that they're gonna have to be responsible for making sure that that's not gonna
that's
have
not
an impact
touched,
downstream.
correct.
So that could come out in mitigation, possibly in mitigation
Right.
with them.
Right. But the, I don't want to, I'd like to have a team working on this, not just me.
Understandable. I think the first thing we need to do is get cost.
So Tim, both of you had asked the question about bonding, and Tim,
Mhm.
Right. So, so that was one of the things Jeannie and I had talked about, is looking at this for local financing for essentially a construction note or a short-term note where we could draw down against that to do, the work at the same time, looking at the grant possibilities coming in to offset any longer-term note that we might have to hold. And, so that'd have to be done outside of the bond bank. The bond bank wouldn't permit buying down that, long-term amount. So once you bond with the bond bank, that's it. Those are your payments. That's your payment stream for the term. But I would recommend, we could either do a two-step process like what we did with, or what we did with the police station, which was essentially the short-term construction note then became the longer-term note for the
Yeah.
station itself, and that it permitted monies being, reducing the principal. So there were no prepayment penalties, in other words, which we wouldn't have with the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank. So
But without the grants,
Mhm.
if we take the other estimate was $1 to $1.2 million, I think. So let's just say we take out a grant or a bond for $1.2 million, and then we don't get the $500,000 grant. That means we're on the hook for that $700,000, does it not?
that's right. Exactly. That's what would then become your 20-year note, or whatever is negotiated at that point. So, you could be looking at a 5-year construction and followed by a longer term if you want to go with a bond bank, or do one similar to what we did with the police station. But
The difference in interest rates?
excuse me, what is?
Interest rates.
So interest rates are not good right now, and not going to be good for the foreseeable future. So I would recommend probably doing a two-step. One would be a construction note that would be shorter term, and then do hopefully at say 2 years out, when we'd be looking to, or whatever the time frame, we'd be looking at to go to a longer term note for whatever portion is left over that wasn't covered by grants. Hopefully we'd be at a lower rate profile at that point in time. So, but it just depends. I mean, right now, for our TAN for this next year, we had locked in last year at 3.75%. And this next year, we're looking at right now, if we don't lock tonight on a decision, we could be looking at 5.75% for a tax anticipation note in the first quarter. So we have the opportunity to lock in tonight at 5.25%. But that gives you, those are very short-term rates. Longer-term rates are still going to be lower, but you're going to have, your payment stream. You're going to pay a lot over those 20 years or whatever timeframe the board decides.
Well, we're going to want to ask town meeting
Thank you, Tim. Yep.
about this, about whether
Right.
we do construction or bond or whatever, about
Mhm.
borrowing money for this project.
Well, you have the authority to borrow $1 million currently.
But it's not going to be $1 million project.
Won't know that without the prices.
Well, you said it was 1.2
1 to
Eight-
1.2.
a couple of years ago.
800 to 1.2, right.
800 to 1.2.
But
Right.
all of the, pieces, we need to know the cost of.
Right.
We
Right.
need to ask the legislative body if they want to,
Right.
you know,
And we probably
Borrow
would
the
need to
money.
know that
whether it's
fairly
bonding
soon.
or construction loan.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
What's the right way to do it?
Yep. Okay. Next. Annette. Yeah, go ahead. You need a mic.
I'm still very concerned about any kind of catastrophic failure on that riverbank. If there is, they're not going to wait for the town to make decisions. And if there is, they're going to go in there, and I think everyone in town knows what they're going to end up doing. They're going to just haul truckload after truckload after truckload of stone fill into the river, which will in fact change the course of the river. And if they do that, that's going to put that island at even a higher risk. And I think that one of the things that you need to consider is the priorities. Now, I understand that replacement of the granite blocks and all that, fine. But yeah, I think that's one of the first steps that needs to be done to protect the island before we even worry about all the other steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Okay.
Where are we since we're talking about the island with the estimates for the baskets, the gabions?
Haven't heard back from HEB yet, and the other 3 I have not heard back from. I need to follow
Right.
up with them.
Oh.
No.
Right.
Interesting.
Is that it for your report, or you still have more?
So at this point, just so I understand what you're asking me to do, is to try to get better estimates for the board. And I likely won't have that until not the next meeting, but the meeting after. So I'll try to have that for you by then. And the Department of Health and Human Services sent out an email. There are free, I don't know if you saw that, Catherine, free COVID test kits for families. I was able to get a case of COVID test kits that we have here now at Town Hall that was provided to
Nice.
Tilton, but individually, people can log on to this website. So my question to the board was, do you want us to put that on our homepage so that people, if they want to take advantage of that,
Yes,
can?
please. Yep.
Can we distribute them at the senior center as well?
Well, we have them here, so if you want to do that, you can take.
Can you only get a case, or can you get a case for the senior center?
I can ask.
Okay.
I'm happy to do that. And
How many are in a case?
well, 288.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
One case might be enough.
They'll go quick.
And then I didn't know if you had any questions for me relative to the meeting with Eversource. I put that out, my FYI, but if you don't, then I'm done.
I didn't know if they had said anything about the pole on School Street and
Yes.
attaching the wires.
Yes, I said that in there. We went out and looked at that, and she said, because I think one of the questions you asked was who authorized them to attach to the town building, and she said that happened so many years ago, they probably would never be able to track down who
Right.
said yes to that. They do not have us, nor would they have the town as an additional insured. They do have insurance, and if it pulled out of the building. It's covered. And there is a work order out there. She did look at the pole. She started out as a lineman. So
Mhm.
she's worked her way up through and she really knows her stuff. Um, and
What was her,
what's that?
what did she think of the pole?
She said it was in very rough shape.
Yep.
She agreed it needed to be replaced. So, and there is a work order on it and she will try to light a fire to get that done, but it is due, well, I think somebody from Eversource even told you that, right?
Right. They were going to replace it because Comcast is in the area. There's a couple of work orders out there for it to be done.
And so she also suggested that she start work orders both on Tilton Island Bridge, the pole that would need to be moved if you remove the bridge, and work order on the poles along the side where the slope is eroding on Route 3. And that, by starting the work order, will give us an estimate of what it's going to cost to move those if that's something we want to do. She is also going to work to put together a meeting with Eversource and the Selectmen and Tilton School to look at the possibility of moving the poles over to the other side so that you would have less impact in the river.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So
That's great.
I followed up with her yesterday to see where she was at, and she said she sent out, all the information, is waiting for feedback.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Welcome.
Okay. Do we know if we're still waiting for members to show up? Yes, okay. Now I'm going to proceed on and ask the selectmen to start on their reports. John.
I'm pretty much going to yield on that. I've been real
Okay.
busy today, but the only thing I want to say is the Halloween was very well attended. I think that you can probably address on that when you talk. You did a lot of the organization along with Jeannie. The gifts that you found and dug out were just very well received. Everybody loved them. The kids were just ecstatic.
Yeah, it was like Christmas going down there and looking
I
at
know.
that a lot. Oh, I forgot about that stuff.
I've never seen so many people at the Halloween thing.
Right.
It was,
Ever.
Sorry, I missed it.
and
I don't think we've seen that many people downtown at one time. So, Scott, you have anything? Thank you, John, and congratulations, by the way.
Yes. So we had the final meeting of the Winnisquam Regional School District Formula Study Committee. Our recommendations are headed out to the school board. So just a little bit of an explanation, as currently the apportionment formula is a 70-30 split, 70% being based on average daily membership from the three towns, 30% being on the equalized assessment property valuation, the EV. In a nutshell, a couple of things. First of all, the recommendation that is going out from the committee to the school board and school board budget committee is the following, is that what we have recommended is that there would be a 1% increase on a yearly basis leaning toward the ADM. So the average daily membership would go up 1% each year and the EV would go down 1% each year in terms of how we figured out the formula and the contributions by each municipality. Again, starting at 71% in fiscal year 24-25, fiscal year 25-26 would be 72% ADM, 73% for 26-27, 27-28, 74, and then 75% for fiscal year 28-29. And the EVs go down 1% each year. We figured and felt that the ADM was a far more accurate way of looking at what each municipality should invest, because that tells how many students they have going on a daily basis. Which would be a better way of doing it. One of the things that did come up in looking at the EV And we know that it probably wouldn't be an easy thing, but if there would be any way that the three municipalities, Sanbornton, Northfield, and Tilton, could get on the same revaluation schedule, at any, that would be wonderful, because then it would make it a little bit easier in terms of looking at that EV overall, and then being able to have those numbers come in so that it's not as much of a sort of a puzzle to put together, with those valuations coming in different years for different municipalities. So, did I miss anything, Mr.
So
Pearson?
how's this going to impact Tilton?
No. So how's it going to impact Tilton? It depends on the average daily membership we have on a yearly basis,
So
on a weekly, yeah.
you haven't figured that out yet?
Well, we can't tell because it's a fluctuating number on a yearly
Correct.
basis. If we have, let's say we have X number of families leave the district who live in Tilton, and they take 100 children with them, that's going to drop our average daily membership, which is then going to, that will reduce our contribution. On the same note, if we have more children from Tilton going into the district on our ADM, then it's going to increase the value. So, the way that when we were looking at it, all of us from all of the municipalities, is that the ADM number is really sort of the one that you would want to go with, because that's how much you're drawing from the system, so to speak.
Right.
So,
Okay.
If I may also, to answer your question, Pat, just looking at a snapshot in time and then looking at how, if those numbers stayed static over the course of those 5 years, which, as Scott just mentioned, wouldn't be the case, but had they stayed static, we would see a reduction in the school rate for the town of Tilton over those
Yeah.
5 years.
correct.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Joe.
I defer to Catherine.
Okay. Catherine.
So I have one thing. I want ask the Board of Selectmen to accept my resignation as health officer for the town of Tilton, effective December 10th, giving you enough time to find a replacement. I submit my letter.
How long have you been the health officer, Catherine? All the time I've been here, but
Oh, I don't know. When Joe Plesner stepped down, I took over. I don't know, 20 years, 19 years, a while.
One more is fast.
Well,
thank you for all the time you gave us.
Welcome.
make a motion. We accept the Tilton Health Officer's resignation with regret. Thank you for your service, Catherine.
Second, Scanlon.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. It's going to be a hell of a shoe to fill.
Thank you.
If I have to vote, I vote no.
That would make a difference, yeah.
And not that it'll make a difference, but I can't see me willingly getting rid of you as the health officer. Been a hell of a resource, and you know the ins and outs, and you know the people, the players that are the frequent flyers for that department, and you'll be very difficult to replace.
Thank you, but remember, we
Well
are the
said.
Board of Health, so
Yeah, I get
I'm not
that,
going
Catherine.
anywhere for a couple of years,
No, there you go.
but at
Hopefully.
least I'm not going to be an employee.
If you weren't a selectman, I would say submit your consulting fees now before you leave. Well, Jeannie, you've got another advertisement to go out if you weren't bored.
There's a motion on the floor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, with regret.
I vote no.
I abstain. Actually, I
Alright.
declined to vote.
Motion passes. Is that it?
That's
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Bingo.
More people coming?
On time.
Hmm?
On time. 6 o'clock. Done.
Okay. Conservation, more people coming? More people coming for you? You don't know. We'll wait. 6:15, right? We have them for, 6 we have them. We'll give 5 more minutes.
Anything, Pat?
I have lots of things, so. I don't want to get, I can do a couple of things. One is, you remember a couple of months ago, we had a request from a resident. I want to follow up on that and make sure that we either put this in as a warrant article or not. And that was to increase the veterans credit from 500 to 750. There are a lot of towns and cities that are doing that now. They're going from 500 to 750. I'd like to at least put it on the warrant and for a vote. Yes?
I'm all for letting the legislative body decide.
Yep,
Yes.
yep,
Yes.
yep.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a yes. Okay. Real quick one. Winter is coming, whether you like it or not. There's no parking on any street, November 15th to April 15th. It's coming up. Vehicles will be towed at the owner's expense. And also, particularly in the village district where the streets are very narrow, please, it would be very, very helpful to the Department of Public Works if you remove your empty trash cans as soon as they are emptied. That would be very helpful for them. And the trash cans in the sidewalks are a great big obstacle for the snow clearing operations. So if you can get them off of the sidewalks, that would be helpful as well. Go ahead, Eric. You need a mic. Oh, we have some more people coming up.
Are they going to put signs back up to remind people? Because driving down Prescott Street today, there were no signs.
Yeah, Prospect Street, you mean?
Prospect. Sorry.
Yep.
Thank you.
They're putting new signs up. Because if you haven't noticed that they're replacing the poles in Tilton, because Comcast is coming in the area, so they need taller poles. So a lot of poles are being replaced, so they need to put new signs on the poles. Okay.
Does anybody have any idea when Comcast will be available publicly?
First comes the poles, which are coming within the next 2 months. They're replacing all of the poles. You can see them all marked pretty much. And then it's a matter of they're finishing up in Belmont, so probably within the next 6 to 8 months, I would say, once they get the wiring done, the cabling done, I should say. That's an estimate. All right. Okay, so let's begin. I think this looks like we've got a fairly good representation from everybody. So we've invited you all here to make things better, open communications, see what you folks, how we could make things better for you, whether it be training, whether it be open communications with the board. We wanted to reach out to you and see how you folks were doing in the committees and boards. So This is the first of a couple of meetings because all of the boards and committees wouldn't fit all in the room. So we kind of split it up, and we thought planning, zoning, and conservation would be an ideal match. So we'll start off, and if you take the mic, please introduce yourself. It's because the person that's taking the notes is new, and they don't know us as well as everybody else did before. So I guess the questions are, how are we doing? What can we do to help? How can we do to open up communications? Anything else am I missing here, board? Okay. So here we are. Who wants to start? I know you're chomping at the bit, Chuck. Come on.
Chuck Mitchell, Conservation Commission. I guess one thing that's of concern to me is making sure that all of us are somewhat in the same step when it comes to following the town's master plan. I'm not sure how many people here have actually ever looked at it, yet read sections which in fact might be impacted by that particular board or commission. And I think that it behooves the select board to annually sit down with, not necessarily as a whole group like this, but with each of the boards and commissions, maybe have someone, one or more members of the select board, refresh themselves well with a particular section that might deal with that board or commission, and to sit down and to make sure that people understand what's there. When you take a look at the master plan, you will find out that there's a great deal in there about trying to maintain the rural characteristics of this community, maintaining natural resources, and a lot of that kind of stuff. And right now, the town, I think many of us will acknowledge, over the last 20 plus years has been more concerned with development, and a lot of development which is now infringed all the way from exit 20 down into what had been a residential area. We've bent over backwards, and the boards and commissions seem to have favored not only the additional development of businesses, but have encouraged it. And I guess if that's where the direction that people in this community want to go, I'm not so sure. I think right now the community over the years has in fact voted on certain ordinances, and I think sometimes the town has turned a blind eye on a lot of violations in this town. I don't think the code enforcement is up to date, and we got a lot of codes out there that we could go by every single day and point out that have never been dealt with. That's my 2 cents worth.
Okay. Thank you, Chuck. All right. Go ahead.
Kathy Mitchell. I would like to remind everybody of what the Conservation Commission is supposed to do, what our role is, and as such,
Kathy's passing papers out for those online.
I think as part of the communication.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy.
I think sometimes people just think we sit there and meet and chat and don't really do anything. And I would suggest that by law, we have certain things we must do, certain things we can do, and that's on the sheet. I would also mention that we have a web page because as part of our job, we have to inform the community about various natural resources, where to get help if you see some sort of a problem with a wetlands violation or with a dumping violation, we provide maps, we provide all kinds of information because that's our responsibility. And while we don't have the authority to tell people what to do, we can make recommendations. And the Conservation Commission in Tilton has 9 members, 7 regular, 2 who are alternates, and each one brings an incredible amount of knowledge, not only of the town, but of the rules and regulations. We have an arborist, we have people who are very aware of what the responsibilities are. And I guess I would like people just to think a little bit more, look at our website, and take into account that we can offer advice. We can offer information. If you need some information to solve a problem or to address an issue, the Tilton Conservation Commission can provide you with that.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else? Nate, state your name, please.
Hi, Nathan Langione, and I am on the planning board. So a big issue that I have had is finding information as far as all of the planning, zoning, conservation type requirements due to the fact that it's scattered across multiple websites, multiple sections of websites. A lot of the planning board documentation will reference other documents or regulations without citing the regulation and what the requirements are. And so I think as a townsperson, knowing when I would have to go before any of these groups and the order in which to go before them is difficult. And I think overall we need to evaluate how we are presenting information to the public as well as updating all of our documentation just to get it standardized. Some docs have page numbering, some don't, some have headers with the town seal and contact info, others don't, different fonts, formatting styles, and I think it'll make our jobs easier if everything is centralized and up to date, free of proofreading type issues, not contradicting other documentation, and so I think there is a lot of stuff that can be done within the various committees and boards themselves, but I think there are some things that do need to be clarified in terms of how we operate, that would need to be warrant articles or amendments, and as far as enforcement goes, I'm not sure we have the personnel to go through and correct all of the existing or grandfathered violations, so to speak. I think we definitely need communication to be very clear if we are going to start really hammering down on regulations that may not have been enforced strictly in the past, and just make sure we're setting clear expectations, as to what is required of people. Because, for example, if you own a 3-unit multifamily property, you're technically supposed to go before the planning board anytime you have a change in tenants. Just as far as the writing of some of our documentation, and I'm probably sure most people who own 3-family properties are not coming before the planning board yearly or every other year, because of a tenant change. And some of that comes down to like what we do and do not consider commercial properties as far as different regulations and standards go. So I have been doing a lot as far as reviewing what we have, and getting access to copies of documentation so I can go through it and try to highlight areas of improvement. So I think there's a lot of stuff that we can do to make things better and more equitable. But I think a lot of it comes down to process, documentation, and just consistency. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. That also makes a good point too, because I think it's part education when you're new, that what is the planning board all about? What is the zoning board all about? What is conservation all about? There are courses that you can take, and I think New Hampshire Municipal still offers them. I think Primex still offers some courses as well to take, and you're welcome to check in with Jeannie. She can set you up with any of those. I mean, Steve, any of the new members or old, you want to check them out, feel free. Particularly if you want to learn about what your responsibilities are. And like, you have some really great questions because you want to learn, you want to know where things are, what they look like. And I can't find some of the things I want to find on my website, and I've been here 15 years. So I agree with you. But also how to look for what I want as well. And do I need to look for this instead of this? And I think that you have some valid points there, Nate. But I think education is a key as well. And there's a lot of training available to all of us. I mean, there's selectmen courses that we can take, and I think a lot of us have availed us of those over the years. But anyway, I won't go on. But go ahead, Chuck, and then I'm going to go around the room here.
Yeah, one other little point that I think it's important, and that is meeting minutes. Some boards and commissions don't meet more than once a month, some just twice a month. I believe the state is required that meeting minutes be available within 5 days after a meeting. Most of those, it does not happen. Some people will not vote to approve even draft minutes, or would they hold on to the minutes until after their next meeting. If you then put another 5 days after that, you're looking sometimes at 5 or 6 weeks before minutes can be put up. If you want honest and open communication between the boards and commissions here, you've got to make sure that these minutes are done not only in a timely manner, but also made available, even in draft form, even if it's just one amongst ourselves. Now, it's easy to say, okay, well, everyone can just simply go to the town's website, but also now that the boards and commissions are just one click. We all know what the different ones are. TCC at tiltonnh.org. One click will send a copy of the minutes out to different groups. And I think if you want open communication, that's certainly a very good beginning.
So you'd like the approved minutes sent to the different groups? No?
Fast, in a timely
Fast.
manner.
Fast in a timely manner. Okay.
So Chuck, you're saying the draft minutes marked as draft, not just the approved minutes months later.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Conservation Commission meets on a Monday night. We'll have those out to the town and available within 1 week, and we can send those out to every board, commission, select board, anyone. It's a click of the mouse to get it done. And we sometimes look for others, and in fact, Kathy actually had to go to the administrative secretary or administrative assistants downstairs. At one point, asked whether or not we needed to go through the state's right to know law in order to get a copy of some minutes, and that was like 3 or 4 weeks later. They still weren't up. That's not good communication.
I recently looked at some sites that hadn't posted minutes since last spring. I know they've met. That is a problem.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll put some notices out. We're just to blame with that as well. I mean, we just have 2 sets of minutes that we turned back to approve because they had egregious changes in them. I mean, that just changed the whole effect of our minutes. Okay, Matt, do you have anything to say? You're taking it all in, communications. How about you, Steve? You're Steve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. New, how's it going? Enjoying it?
Yeah, it's fun. Just learning.
Okay. Learning from the best over here too. So if you ever want training or additional training, you can talk to Jeannie. She'll set you up with what's upcoming in with New Hampshire Municipal Association for zoning, planning, whatever. Okay. Jane, I know you always have something to say. Okay, go ahead. You have to talk right into the mic, Jane. Can't believe I couldn't hear her voice.
It's wishful thinking.
That's a first.
Nate brought up something that I think is very important, and that's the amount of personnel we have. The planning board always has conditions for approval of any project we have, and it's expected that those will be followed up on. Unfortunately, we have one code enforcement officer and a land use coordinator who's also expected to serve as a code enforcement officer. I was in here day before yesterday, and the land use coordinator had 6 different things that were absolutely had to be done right away. There was no way that she could go out to the field and inspect projects that are completed. So I think that's a real issue. I'd like to see a full-time code enforcement officer. I think it's very necessary if all of these boards are to function the way we're supposed to.
Okay. Thank you, Jane. Eric.
Eric Pyra. I think, I don't know the best way to put it, follow through in talking about land use. So a lot of our site plan approvals have conditions, whether they do this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of, okay, they got this done, it goes here, and it's no fault, it's just the way the workload is, and things get, passed over, or the follow through on certain things. I can think of a parcel that was approved for a use several years ago, and did we do a compliance? I guess is it compliance check? Is that the right phrase? And maybe I'm looking for that they're following the conditions of their approval.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if she has time to do that because of all the other responsibilities she has. So, is it hiring additional, administrative staff to help so that the coordinator can go out into the field and follow up on things. I just to do that. But like, even this meeting, found out 2 days ago that there's a meeting, and it's tough to coordinate things
2 days ago.
for that.
Hmm.
So, it's just the follow through, and communication and, getting the minutes out. I agree with Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that.
I'll pass this back over to Nate.
Who? For a minute, Bob had his hand up.
Hi, Nathan Langione. So, who do we use for a website provider or vendor for the town? Because looking at like Keene, New Hampshire versus Rochester versus Northfield versus Tilton, there seem to be different providers, and so I was wondering if there is some. It would be possible to either switch at some point to a new provider that offers better capabilities, or if we just need more time, for updates to the website, whether that's, something that's, volunteer based, or, maybe, we need a part-time, or another full-time, IT slash, finance person to help out there.
Tim Pearson has been our IT director and also in charge of our website. So you want to shoot him an email and ask him those questions, Nate, you're welcome to, or we could, and then shoot you an email back with the answers. We could do that as well, but I think coming from you firsthand would probably help. You're welcome to do that. Yeah, he did. I was going to point to him, but he didn't. He had already left. But we.
Address right on the website.
Yeah.
If you have questions to send to him.
Yeah. So you're welcome to do that. I think that'll open up the communications because he's had that responsibility for a number of years now. Tom? They're all pointing at you, so. Yeah.
Light goes on.
Gotcha.
Tom Damon, Planning Board. Since I was appointed to the Planning Board, I have contradictory philosophies about where this town is going and where it wants to go. Some people believe that unfettered development is okay, that we don't. We want people to come and visit Tilton. They don't. They go right by us. I've noticed that some people violate the town zoning laws, and there's no repercussions from that. And I thought that I was here to serve the citizens of the town of Tilton and to speak on their behalf with regards to upholding the ordinances of the town. That's what I thought my duty was as a member of the planning board, to speak for the citizens and property owners of this town. And I just don't see that, especially from some of the people we call in the leadership in this town. Now, you want to keep the rural flavor of this town? Let's do that. If that's on the master plan, let's do that. But if it's not, I'm really confused about what the goals are. So if somebody would like to enlighten me, I'm more than willing to listen. Thank you.
Go ahead, Kath.
Which leads into my point, which was the master plan for the town of Tilton was last amended in 2013.
Hmm.
And it is our responsibility, all of us, to update that master plan. We don't have to start from scratch. We don't have to pretend that we've never had one and we're beginning anew, but we need to start looking at it. We need to start saying, are these the things that we value? Are these visions that are listed? Are these summary goals still valid? Or do we need to revise them? We don't have to take the whole thing apart piece by piece, word by word, but we have to start by looking at it because it's our guide. It's what we follow as different commissions and boards.
Thank you, Kathy. Jim.
This is Jim Cropsey, Conservation Commission and ZBA. And Kathy brings up something that I remembered, and I think was a prior police chief with Cormier. I thought we were going to be working on an emergency management plan as well that needs to be updated, and I believe that's out of date.
No,
So
that's
Just
done.
did it.
that was done.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
We should share that with them.
Okay, well, I guess communication, because I thought
Right.
that I was going to be pulled in on help with that, and I never got called. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
Okay. That is on the website, that along, so the emergency management plan is on there, and the updated one, and as they went along doing it, there were some comment times that were made available. And also the other one was it the mitigation?
There's a hazard mitigation plan and the LEOP, which is the local emergency operations plan, which I think you worked on.
Yeah. So you can look on there and dig some of that stuff up. There's a lot of information on there if you under the headings. And because there's so much information, you have to look at the headings and then find it. It's not like all on the first page. Look them up.
Thanks, Jim. Go ahead, Matt. Matt's next.
Matt Gilman, zoning. I was just thinking about, we're talking about communication and getting on the same page and that sort of thing. We did a workshop, I want to say 4 years ago, where we all kind of got together and we talked about some of the hangups we'd run into in our various boards. And I feel like it'd be pretty productive if we did that on a much more regular basis. I mean, trying to be respectful of everybody's time.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to add another thing in there, but just kind of was a chance that we could communicate the things we ran into and, the hangups we had, and not have to sometimes at a board like, oh, well, why are we doing this again?
Right.
It was helpful. That's all.
So it was a workshop.
I don't know the name of it. I don't remember. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I vaguely remember that a couple of years ago. Sure, we could do that. And okay. But I understand that was very productive. Okay.
Just gets everyone in the same room.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Chuck's next.
Getting back to what John was pointing about, some of these documents available on the website, I do not deny that, and you really have to hunt. Gets back to one of the things that Nate was talking about as well. But there's also, it would be very helpful if, and I don't know if Tim can do that, but I believe at one point there was an available search engine attached to the website so that you'd be able to go in, and if you had some general idea what you were looking for, you would be able to enter that information, and hopefully it would direct you to the right connection on the website. I don't believe right now, when I try to find some things, I have to go into Google, and then hopefully it'll kick back to something on the town's website. But just a thought.
It's a good point.
Nathan
Go ahead.
Langione. I I think it would be great if we could, do some kind of workshopping or, have a way for boards and committees to like review documentation and process, you know, outside of the official meetings, just because time tends to be limited. There tends to be business that needs to be addressed, and people probably aren't going to want to watch 45 minutes of, no, there should be a comma here, no, that should be a semicolon, we should change that contraction, kind of stuff, waiting for actual business to happen. And then the second thing, as far as communication, at least for the town boards and committees, since we do use Google Suite, we could give all members Google accounts. For email, we can set up distribution and mailing lists. We can set up Google Drive, folders with correct permissions, so that certain boards have access to view other boards' documentation but not change it. There's the ability to have multiple people contributing and commenting on documentation at the same time. So I mean, we could definitely, using the tools that we have, put together a strategy to increase collaboration, increase knowledge sharing, at least make stuff more findable and accessible for the various board and committee members, even if making it better on the public facing website is a longer term plan.
Thank you, Nate. Anybody else? Board? Any comments, concerns, or anything? Go ahead.
There was one thing that, Bob can go ahead.
Whoa, Bob.
Thanks, Pat. Bob Hardy, Conservation Commission. Just reiterate what Kathy said about the master plan. We've got a master plan. We've got ordinances and zoning regulations in town, and yet we repeatedly ignore them, and there's violations of those ordinance. One is the wetlands ordinance, and this was approved at town meeting and adopted by the town, and yet we repeatedly ignore it and just let development go on in the wetlands. And it's these types of infractions, and I think Nate mentioned some other stuff with zoning ordinances that are overlooked, and it needs to be addressed at the leadership level in the town and say, hey, we need to enforce these rules and regulations and not just turn a blind eye to them. So
Thank you, Bob. All right, I'm going to probably end the conversation here. Thank you. Do you have something else, Nate, quickly?
Yes, I wanted to make a point on wetlands specifically. So there is some lack of clarity as far as when it is a requirement for the conservation commission to be involved in, various undertakings of the planning board. The wetland stuff I find can be difficult because if there's nothing that's saying there's wetlands on the property as far as, existing site plans or, maps and other, documents that we have available to us, it's hard to say whether or not they need to, have, wetlands, conservation, assessment type stuff done. And that may just be due to the fact that I don't have access to all the docs that line that stuff out. But there's just a general lack of clarity, I guess.
Thank you, Nate.
May I make a
Okay.
comment?
Yes.
So years ago, when I was on the planning board made a decision to have all applications that came in concerning wetlands forwarded to the Conservation Commission before the planning board reviewed them. It might behoove the planning board members to readdress that and ask again, we want this to continue. Because it's not an ordinance, it was a request by the planning board.
Do you want to wait until she's finished and then you can
Well, this
talk?
was a request made to the land use coordinator, who has since left and a new one's replaced it, that automatically, when an application came into the land use coordinator, it was sent to conservation to save time, not to wait until the planning board asked for it to go. It automatically went. So when the planning board reviewed it, they usually had comments from the Conservation Commission. And if it was the site plan that the Conservation Commission, didn't see any need to comment, they would also send a letter saying, we don't need to comment on this, everything looks good. But that was automatic. There was no request that, once the planning board requested that, the land use coordinator automatically did that. That's what I'm saying the planning board should readdress. That should be taking place today because it was never asked not to. But as I said, we have a relatively new land use coordinator who may not be aware of that.
Any application, it doesn't matter, Jeannie, any application, it automatically went to the conservation and they made comments because sometimes it concerned conservation, sometimes it didn't, but they were prepared when planning board met with the owners and conducted their site plan review. They already had conservation right there at their fingertips in front of them. And that's what Catherine is talking about. Jane, you had something to say now. Good. But that's after the site plan.
Yeah, this took place before the planning board even saw it. When it came into land use, the land use coordinator sent it out.
Right.
So there was, trying to save time for the applicant.
We could probably have that happen again if
Well, the planning board should take it up.
Jane, huh? Chuck.
Yeah, to reiterate what Catherine said, when Dari was here, every single application that came in was referred to the Conservation Commission because even if it didn't have the word wetlands in it,
right,
we're responsible also for the town's natural resources. We deal with runoff that could go into wetlands or onto an abutting piece of property. There's a lot more there than just simply the word wetlands.
Right.
And the Conservation Commission, by the way, with our 9 members, has a significant history with almost no turnover. We haven't had a change and when we have meetings, we usually have all 9 show up.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not just anyway.
Yeah.
But we used to just simply get copies of everything. And then that way, because we only meet once a month.
Mhm.
And when we meet only once a month, if something comes to the planning board and they want the input from the Conservation Commission, and then they meet, and then they decide to send it to the Conservation Commission, it only puts off these projects for another month.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons why we used to just get copies. And we don't mind sharing, by the way, copies of every single application and things that come in to all the other boards. And that's all part of open communication.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Scott. We're waiting on you.
So,
Yeah.
so just in looking at this, and since I've been on the board a number of times, the conversation and this conversation about communication has come up. And I guess I've been surprised that when I go into our Google system that there's, and I haven't access to every, or tried to access every group. There are only two committees, Parks and Budget, that have their own email that then gets sent out to every member of those groups. The board does too.
Senior group.
All I'm saying is that it sounds like now step one could be the fact that conservation, planning, and zoning now need to have a zoning at Tilton, New Hampshire thing. And that would then, especially in the Google system, would be able to send out to everyone, thus making it a little bit easier. Let's say we'll use the land use office as an example, that if they know that they have an application that comes in, they can just hit those three addresses, and those three addresses go out and they land in everyone's email box instead of having to put in all individual emails. So
But they've got that already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GCC
Yeah.
at tiltonnh.org automatically goes out to everyone. There's no one for
Yep.
planning. So they are there. See, that was what I was saying earlier.
Yep.
A click of a button will send out and share information. It doesn't have to be posted and hidden somewhere on the town's website.
Agreed. And the other question, I'm going to piggyback on what Nate said before, is as I've looked around over the last 5 to 10 years since I've been here, I've said this before, and it's not intended to be an indictment of those who are the keepers of our website, but our website is really, really clunky. It's, that you have a website hosting service like Civics Plus that is used by Belmont, that is used by Samberton, that's used by Franklin, Laconia, etc. And when you go and see the face of those websites, it's just very, very clean. It's very easy to read. The font is very large. So being able for folks to go in and access what Parks and Recreation is in Laconia, it's a large button to be able to do that. And I would encourage us over, the next few months to maybe look at, would that be something, especially the questions that I've received from the public in terms of where can I go find things,
Right.
that might ease a little bit of that burden of getting people in and being a couple clicks away instead of, I think as everyone's experienced, not just on our website, but other municipal websites, that they might have to be 6 or 7 clicks away or put into the search engine. And the search engine is still there on ours. It's just not clearly delineated that it's a search because it's sort of midway down right below the pertinent announcements. So.
Okay. Appreciate okay, Nate.
Yeah,
Last
so
one.
I got a minute.
Yeah, so I just had.
These are for committees and boards, okay?
I'm in ZBA.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm sorry. My apologies.
Yeah.
Didn't recognize the newcomer here.
So 2 points. The change in things being sent to the Conservation Commission with the change in personnel is clearly a lack of documentation process. There's a lot of assumptions about how things are being done that may not be true because it's not clearly outlined somewhere that is findable. And then to come to Tim's defense, I am not a Windows admin or a corporate IT person, but as someone who is a senior engineer at an e-commerce company, the fact that finance and IT was one person was terrifying to me, because at a lot of organizations, IT is just one person, and it's, kind of the redheaded stepchild in terms of, funding and how it's viewed. And there is too much work to be done for it to just be half of a full-time employee. I mean, just the day-to-day operational stuff, yet alone things like wires getting disconnected, and the room not having AV working, and emergency type things. So I think a lot of it comes down to, are we as a town willing to spend the necessary funds to enable better communication within town employees and uh, representatives and appointees, as well as from the town to the residents.
Yes, my name is Brian Pease. I'm on the ZBA. I've been on for 3 years. I'm back to the conservation. I've had this question a couple times, and my background is DOT retired. And before we did anything, everything had to go through conservation first. I'm not saying conservation wetlands is black and white, but it's either wetlands or it's not. And so as far as I'm concerned, everything should go to conservation first, because why is ZBA trying to make a decision on something but it's not going to pass wetlands? So I think everything should go through wetlands first. I don't know what the proper order is now. Does it go to ZBA? Does it go to wetlands? Does it go to planning? But I think conservation should get everything first, because like I said, that's black and white.
Mm-hmm.
If it's wetlands, then it's not going to progress. So that's what I got to say on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
And I apologize again for not recognizing you way over there in the corner.
No, I came in late. Yep, thank you.
All right. Okay. I appreciate everyone coming in, opening up a little bit of the communications. Hopefully we can take some of what you've given us tonight and move forward with a lot of it. We'll have these meetings again, and I'm sure. Right. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone. Okay, continuing on. Want to thank the Tilton School today. It was amazing group of young adults going out to the seniors helping seniors, their community service. There were 10 groups, at least 10 or so in each group. I didn't see the Tilton School representative here, but
Mr. Ruggles was gleaning apples for the food banks all around over
okay,
in Hackleboro
all right,
in
you're
Canterbury.
excused.
So, yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Tom's got a question.
Tom, did you have a question first?
I just want to say I'm very grateful and thank you to the board, and thank you to the seniors helping seniors. They came to my house this afternoon. They're wonderful, wonderful young people.
Mm.
They raked up 30 bags of leaves.
Oh, Kevin will be delighted.
Oh, yeah. But I just want to say that it's a wonderful, wonderful program. Been there for some time now.
Yeah.
And I'm endorsing it to continue for as long as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
These are wonderful, wonderful young people. I had a chance to interact with them. They're funny,
yeah.
They're hardworking, and they're a credit to the school and to the human race. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
So I ditto what Tom says, we've been partnering with them for, I was looking up minutes, old minutes, and it looks like way over 26 years they've been doing it. So thank you to Tilton School.
Yeah. Can we send a card or a letter thanking them and that we've had many positive comments?
Okay. Want to do that?
Who am I sending it to?
Probably Julia Caldwell.
You can
Julie
hand it to
Caldwell.
me. You can hand it to me and I'll deliver it.
Even just a thank you card.
Okay,
or
that's
anything
good
like
I can
that, or a
hand deliver it.
letter.
We'll save postage. How's that?
You know,
So-
we might put in the annual report about them too.
Yeah.
Because we have been doing this for decades.
Oh, long time, way before us.
It would be a nice thing to put in there. Thank
Way
you
before
to-
us. It was
If
Cindy Reinhardt, and
Yeah.
Probably too late to have pictures.
Well, if the
she
decision,
has pictures.
Oh.
Yep.
yeah, well, if the decision is made and you would like photographs, we can work through our communications office to be able
Yeah.
to provide those for you.
Yeah, Julie said she'd take
Yeah,
pictures
there's
today.
tons of photographs taken today.
Yeah, because I have some on my phone, but I'm not going to share them unless I have permission. Like John said, Halloween was an amazing success. I would say it more like 1,000 people were there. It was wonderful. We have a parking issue that's going to come in. He's going to come in later. Okay. He was. It's an issue parking in the municipal parking, and tickets were given out. It's an issue. He's very angry. Elaine Grace dedication of the stage was on Saturday. It was well received. The family was there. Her brother, or her son, and his wife were there, and it was very well received. Forgetting something here.
Budget. That 16th and the 30th.
Oh, no, November, we would like to have a meeting, the November 2nd, the 9th, the 16th, and the 30th, but keeping the 16th and the 30th just for budget.
I'm sorry, what was those dates?
Tonight,
Every Thursday.
every Thursday,
Except for Thanksgiving.
except for Thanksgiving,
Oh, that's easy.
and the 16th and the 30th, just budget. Everybody in agreement with that?
Sure.
Okay. And John, we voted earlier, and you weren't here because you were graduating, on wreaths from Bob Hardy, but I also asked the question, and we didn't take a formal vote on securing some poinsettias from the DOC. Do you have them this year?
No, presently we aren't growing the poinsettias. We're just going to start getting into contract growing for next season for like geraniums and stuff like that.
Well, that answers
So-
that question.
But that would be ahead
Okay.
of time.
Well, she said it was poisonous anyway, so we're all set. Okay, that answers that question. Okay, all right. Lauren, half hour or what?
One more item in Tim's report,
Oh, the
tan.
the tan, we need to make a motion on Tim's report. Okay.
Isn't that what we just signed?
No, we need to make the motion first before it's a different one. Do you have?
The motion is on in your packet under the finance report, the first page.
I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yep. I move
Go
that the town initiate up to a $3 million line of credit tax anticipated note, TAN, with Franklin Savings Bank for 2024, with a rate of interest not to exceed 5.25%, and further to authorize the engagement of legal services not to exceed $3,000 for the purposes of securing the TAN.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Perfect. I can go down and see if she's down there. I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm gonna take 5. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. What would you say?
Well, I just said, I thought after the public will come in with the committees, and one thing that Nate brought up is that people don't know what happens and what you do, where you go in town hall. It might be a good idea if people are willing to have like a little video YouTube thing that could be on our website. Somebody comes in and says, hi, introduce yourself, town clerk, town clerk, tax collector, and deputy. Some things we do, dog licenses, marriage certificates, and all that. We're located here, and my name's so-and-so, and as well as make another one for land use. Hi, I'm so-and-so, and these are the things. You can come up here and get this information from me, or schedule an appointment, and go around so people get to know the people in town hall and what resources are there, where they can start.
Yeah,
and
good
make
idea.
it friendly, and then, it might be, like a little interview. What do you think?
Interesting. Some of what was said, though, 91A, you can't,
Yeah.
Converse with your board members by
Yeah, you
email
can
and
collaborate.
discuss.
Correct.
Yeah, some of the collaboration, making things available is great.
Yeah,
But
but there's,
collaboration is,
But I've never had trouble. I mean, it's a little more cumbersome now than it used to be when we had that one-step program. But I've never had trouble finding, if I looked up a case,
Hmm.
I mean,
no.
it's not exactly a straight road there. You kind of like going through Chemung or Pestel's Road to
I
get there.
love Chemung.
But you can get there. I do
we
too.
don't want too many people to know the route for driving, but this is an area where we do.
It's like we want to make
Um,
people work for it.
Yeah. The other thing is, public flow charts. So I want to build a garage. Do X, Y, then you go to there and there and there, what happens, where it comes out. So a flow chart is really helpful for making it pretty clear as to the flow of things and how things work. And then they don't get bounced around. And that might help the public to understand, as well as boards and committees.
I've done that with health officer. I'll have a lot of people call me, especially in this climate. They're afraid of being evicted, so they don't want the health officer to show up, but they still need to have their issue resolved. And we've become very creative, but I created this packet that I give tenants, and I usually meet them in Riverfront Park. But it gives
You're
them
known.
the ABC of, how can I help myself? This is what I've got. How do I resolve it? What are the issues? So I've got it on a file on my computer. I just print it off. But you're right, it would help.
Probably.
Jane and Eric, we're gonna go into non-public.
Sure.
Okay. This time being 7:04, I make a motion to move into non-public per RSA 91A:3, 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of a public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her unless the employee affected, 1, has the right to a public meeting, 2, request that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted, and RSA 91A:3, 2B, the hiring of a person as a public employee, RSA 91A:3, 2E, consideration and negotiation of a pending claims or litigation which has been threatened in writing or filed by or against this board of any subdivision thereof, or by or against any member thereof because of his or her membership therein, until the claim or litigation has been fully adjudicated, or otherwise settled.
Ruggles second.
Roll call vote.
Chessman, yes.
Ruggles, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Dawson, yes.
Constantino, yes. Whew.
Regional manager.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of November 2nd, 2023, because disclosure would adversely affect the reputation of a person other than the member of the board permanently.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. New business, a gentleman from parking didn't stick around. Okay. Joe, you have some new business.
And actually, it's old business. Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make that motion every week, so it's definitely old business. And red is run, not yet. It's been really great being here, but not as great as it's going to be to leave. I'm just saying.